Hello there, everybody. My name is Mackenzie Berry, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Leonore High School's creative team for the fall play, Help Desk. I am joined today by our fantastic co-director, Mrs. Angela Smithhisler, our phenomenal student director, Ricky Guariglia, and our hardworking stage manager, Kevin Aquino. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. So during these unforeseen circumstances, this creative team has gone above and beyond in making sure that these students still have a performance outlet and that the community is able to enjoy theater even from a virtual standpoint. So let me be the first to say thank you guys so much for all of your hard work and dedication to this department. I think I speak for everyone when I say that this really means the world to all of us. So first and foremost, what made you guys decide on this show specifically, especially in our current circumstances?
Well, it's funny. I wasn't actually going to do a fall play. I told my students that with the virtual learning situation, it wasn't going to work out. It was only in early September that I met with my drama club officers, and I said to them, we could call this fall play a loss, or, I have heard recently of these plays that are specifically written by these playwrights to be performed in quarantine. Would you guys be interested in that? And they resoundingly said yes. They said, we're so desperate for being part of a production and performing that we want to do anything, whether it's virtual or not. And when they gave me that cue, I went and did my research, and I read through, maybe 6 or 7 different scripts. And I wanted to choose one that would be believable in the sense that it wouldn't feel like I'm dubbing together 2 isolated actors after lots of editing and green screen and all that stuff. And I came across The Help Desk by Don Zolaitis, who I have read his work before, so I was kind of expecting a good script. And I just felt like after reading through the script, it was so relevant for hashtag 2020. It was, a group of people, a group of scenes, frustrated with the inability to solve their problem with somebody over the phone who they're not dealing with face to face. Customer service in a store when you're dealing with somebody face to face over a counter is quite different than someone that you're calling on the phone on a 1-800 call trying to figure out your problems. And I read through it and I loved it. And I laughed through a lot of the scenes, and I felt like this absolutely has 100% cultural relevancy right now with what we're dealing with quarantine and people working from home and the frustration of not being face to face. And so I felt like Help Desk was absolutely the best pick. I could have absolutely gone with a radio play of a popularized title, but I just really felt like Help Desk had the relevancy that was needed for hashtag 2020.
Absolutely. I think hashtag 2020 has definitely been one for the books. So obviously this department has put together many shows in the past, but this is the first time that we have all approached it virtually. Let's talk about that. So you discussed a bit how the idea came about and you talked to your officers, but what was the audition process like? Were different things prioritized, like facial expressions or inflection? And are there different things that were prioritized because the performers only had a small box to perform in? Was the casting process easy or more difficult?
Absolutely. So when we first started doing auditions, obviously, a big part of a monologue performance is how a person acts on stage, where are they going? How is their, pre-planned blocking? What are they doing with their body? But, with a virtual space, that's obviously not something that we can look at or something that's even important because the final product is also going to be virtual. So when I was personally looking at auditions and deciding, who I wanted to cast where and what I was going to do, I was definitely looking more at how did they play with the space that they were given,
I think a well-performed monologue can be obvious, whether it's on a virtual platform or in person. I mean, obviously, we didn't have the element of body movement, which is important when you're bringing a character to life in a monologue. But I feel like when we did the virtual auditions, we could clearly see talent was present in all of our auditioners. And so that's why I think the auditioning process really wasn't as hard as we were expecting it to be, just because it was on a virtual platform. So I'm pleased with the results.
Yeah, for sure. I think all of the actors definitely utilized all of the space that they had, especially, for different types of characters that we had throughout the show. Speaking of which, Ricky, I know that you not only were the student director for the show, but you also were in the cast. You played the very comical character of Boffo the Clown. So how did your acting habits change? How did your acting abilities have to change? What adjustments did you have to make in performing?
So as an actor in the virtual space for the first time, it was definitely weird to no longer be able to use my entire body to build a character and make a performance, but I definitely felt like a smooth transition from it. I just kind of had to focus all of my body language on what was above my chest area and more what could be seen on camera. But
well, I, for one, very much enjoyed your performance. I thought it was phenomenal. While we're on that note of performing from a virtual standpoint and trying to figure everything out, like where's my box and figuring everything out on the computer, Kevin, I know this was your first time stage managing, and while you have a lot of experience from a tech theater side of things, tell me a little bit about your experience as a stage manager. Once the ball got rolling on rehearsals, what were your responsibilities from a technical side of things? I'm sure as a stage manager, things look entirely different, but you have a whole new set of responsibilities. So let's talk about that.
As far as tech goes, I was in charge of making the props and costumes list, so many of those actors knew what to wear and what to have on stage.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed all the different diverse costumes and props that were used throughout the show. You did a really good job with that. The other things that I noticed that you did were I very much appreciated when you made the rehearsal schedule every week, and you always reached out to people to make sure that they were in their right rehearsal at the right time, and you were always at every rehearsal no matter what, making sure everything was taken care of just generally. So I very, very much appreciate that, and I think we all appreciate all of your hard work. While we're on that note of leadership, Ricky, this was your first experience student directing, and I know that was a very, very positive experience for you. So let's talk about that a little bit. From a leadership standpoint, I mean, obviously you have experience in leadership in other aspects of the drama world. So how have things changed a little bit? Is this something that you would recommend to others in a virtual or even in a standard world?
So for anyone directing in general, know the show going in, have a good idea, because if you don't have a good understanding of how you want things read or how you want things done in the show, in your head, in this image that you have of the show in general, you're not going to know going into casting who you want, what you're looking for in these auditions. So definitely number one is know the show, period. Number two is just be creative and observant. When you see something, really, really try and make a vivid image of what things look like, and work with your cast on what they have as their image. So
I do recommend be a stage manager if they are able to. It can be a very rewarding experience as you get to express what you think should happen with the play. I think it would be better in a standard world because there's more you can do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely easier when we're able to, see each other's faces and be together. But I do think that this was a really, really good opportunity to express ourselves in a virtual outlet and make the best of our situation for sure. Speaking of faces, Mrs. Smithhisler, I noticed on our cast list there were a lot of familiar faces, but also a lot of fresh faces. Despite our virtual state, I feel like this department has recruited a lot of wonderful people. What are your thoughts?
I am absolutely thrilled that we have so many new faces in our show and in our program. Obviously, when we were going into the school year, I was concerned that we were not face-to-face, that I was going to lose that element of in-person recruiting, spreading word of mouth, hanging posters around the school to get kids to audition for the fall show. But I think it helps that this fall, I have my Intro to Theater class, which I normally don't have until the spring semester. So it was helpful for me to have that captive audience of theater students many of which are freshmen and new to Linganore, and I was able to talk up the fall show and the audition process and answer any questions they might have, and I think it definitely helped market the idea of auditioning for a Linganore drama show. So with that being said, I am thrilled to have new people in our program because I love to see our program growing in size.
I think watching this program grow over the past 4 years has been really, really amazing, and just seeing all these people, these new people, so enthusiastic about our program is really uplifting, and it's really exciting to see. Over the past 4 years, I've noticed, every show has been wonderful, but every show also poses its own unique challenges, and I think this show being the most unique out of all of them, I guess, thus far, what are some unique or unforeseen challenges that came up when...
I think the biggest issue with this show in particular was definitely the filming aspect. As a person or a department really that has only focused on live performances in the past, on stage and more traditional theater performances, filming was never a concept that we really had to worry about. And, going in, honestly, I was hoping that we would be able to go in-house and film them so that we could have standard sets and everything, and we could make things more, professional when we were filming. But unfortunately, that wasn't going to be an option given the restrictions that FCPS has due to COVID. So
this has absolutely been the most difficult show I've ever worked on as a director, at least. And with that being said, 2 years ago for Beauty and the Beast, that was a hard show. That was all the smoke and mirrors and the magical moments we had to figure out how to do, like the Beast's makeup and Chip's magic cart and the transformation scene. And so that was a really hard, stressful show. But this fall virtual show has been so unlike anything that we've done. And it's for problems that we were not anticipating. And the biggest problem was technology. Ironically, the technology failed us, like terrible Wi-Fi signal, lagging video, especially when we were filming. We had to film a couple of takes because the video was lagging and catching. Sometimes Google Meet crashed on us. And so with that, it definitely has been the hardest show I've had to work on because it's things that we don't normally deal with when we're up on stage. We don't deal with bad Wi-Fi signal. But with all of the problems that did come up, I think we made the best of it. And the final edited product is something that I think we should all be proud of because it took a lot of hands to make it work and to make it be a cohesive product.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that we should all be very, very proud of. But thanks to you all especially. So my last note that I want to touch on today is, do you have anything to recommend to people who are currently attempting similar types of virtual performances to create the same type of cohesive product? I know some other schools in our county that are attempting types of radio shows and such. So what are your thoughts on that? What words of wisdom do you have for those groups?
To anyone making a similar virtual show, I give you some advice to give yourself a lot of time with recording. We only had scheduled 3 days to record, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but we actually had to use Friday as well, which caused some problems.
If I had to give words of advice for somebody who's putting together a virtual production, I would say definitely invest in some very good video editing software so that you have more capabilities in putting your show together. Put aside a lot of time for the virtual process of filming and editing and all of that. Definitely have a plan B and a plan C when things don't go right, especially technology. And read around, find the right script. Don't just settle on the first one that you see because there are a lot of options out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for meeting with me. I really appreciate it and all of your hard work. I hope to meet with you guys again in a few weeks to talk about the turnout of the show and maybe some feedback or reviews. But until then, thank you all for everything that you do, and thank you to everybody listening in. Don't forget to follow Lancer Media on social media at LHS Journalism and check out lhslance.org for continuous coverage on the fall play and everything to do with Linganore High School. Until then, we'll see you next time on The Lance.